والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise and glory belongs to Allah, the creator of this universe, the one who created the creation of life and death. الذي خلق الموت والحياة. He is the one who has created life and death as a creation. Meaning they are the makhluk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you look at the trees, you say these are the creation of Allah. The sky is a creation of Allah, the grass is a creation of Allah, but it is a little bit difficult for us to be able to understand how death and life can be a creation of Allah, because we do not see them as an entity. We see the effects of life and death, but we do not see it as an entity. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has created life and death. Life for an individual and a death for an individual, according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is very different than what we perceive it to be. The Prophet has said that a person, I might have narrated this tradition for you before, but you don't remember any of it, so everything I can use again. The Prophet said that a person dies 3 types of deaths and a person lives 3 types of lives. The first type of death is what we are familiar with, and that is the connection of the soul and the body is severed. So this we are very familiar with, we see that all the time. The second type of death is difficult for us to see, and that is that when a soul is disconnected with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the soul dies. That death we cannot see, we don't have the eyes to see. Maybe there are people whose souls are connected to the body, so they look alive to us, but their souls are disconnected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if the souls are disconnected with Allah, then that is a dead soul. So in reality, a person who's living to us is a dead person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And it is quite possible someone that we classify as dead, he might be alive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا. Do not call those people who have died in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people who die in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are alive and they are with their Lord seeking their sustenance. So for us, life and death is different. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, life and death is different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls that life as being His creation, death being His creation. And it's a very personal thing for each one of us, because every one of us is going to die. So whether you listen to this speech, whether you get the information or not, whether, whatever way you're going to think about it, death, you're going to die and I'm going to die. So this is very personal. But death in reality, if you were to look at it, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at it, the way that Imam Masum looks at it, the way the Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the way the Holy Prophet has told us what death is, that is the best way to look at it. Forget about your own ways of looking at death. The third type of death that the Prophet said that a person would die is the death of a community. So how many deaths were there? Do you remember? So
3.
next time, 3. Right? Next time I can't use this one. Okay? So 3. So first type of death is what? When the soul and the body is disconnected. Second death is? Death of the soul, which is? How does that happen? When the soul is disconnected with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third type is the death of in the community, right? And how that happens is when the community is disconnected with Amr bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, is a dead community. When people do not do Amr bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar to each other, they are dead. The community might be 1,000 people, 10,000 people, they might have 500 people, they might have a big, huge, massive center, they might have, all of the facilities there, and people come and they pray there as well, but Allah, the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do Amr bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar to each other. According to the Prophet, they are dead. That they will see their sisters come into the center of the masjid without hijab and they do not say anything. That's a dead community. They see individuals breaking the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they do not say anything. Dead community. That their kids are going astray, but it's okay. Let them go astray. Why is the Prophet calling that community as a dead community? Because that community has no effect or benefit to Islam or the Muslims. They might as well be not existent. They might as well not exist. If 50 people cannot help each other to become better and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they might not as well exist. In Palestine, around it, there is about, how many people? Around Palestine, Arabs, if you were to take a number, close to a billion, close to a billion, something like that. Close to it, 500 million. I mean, the amount of people that are there are so many that Imam Khomeini Rahmatullah, he said one time, he said that all these people, all they have to do is take a bucket of water and throw it out of their house and the problem of Palestine will be solved. But the problem of Palestine is existing for the last 60 years. It is as if no Muslim lives around them. It is as if no Muslim lives around them, because if the Muslims lived around them and there were 500 million people, you would not have the issue of Palestine right now. So what is that community? They're dead. Might as well not exist. What's the point of having 500 million or 500 million Muslims around a piece of land which is occupied for the last 60 years and the Muslims are okay with it? It might as well not exist. The Prophet said that is a dead community. No Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, dead. So let's see how many deaths have I died. Have I died the first type of death? No, because my body is still connected to my soul. That's why I'm in front of you. Have I died the second type of death, that my soul is disconnected with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? For the moment, no. Because I'm forced, you are in front of me, I am forced, I'm sitting down on the minbar of the Prophet, I am forced to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so I know for sure at this moment my soul is not dead. But I cannot guarantee to you after I get off of this minbar whether my soul is still going to be alive or not. Am I living, have I achieved the death of the community? So that would be you and all of you, right? If I'm in your community and your community is doing Amar bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar to each other, then I haven't died that death. But if you're not that way, then I have died that death. And just like that, a person would have three types of lives. The first life is when the body gets connected to the soul. The second life is when the soul gets connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third life is when the community gets connected to Amr bil Maruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. You see how different life and death is according to the Prophet? And how we look at it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I have created you forever. Right? So you know that, right? आपको ये पता ना कि आप immortal है? नहीं पता आपको? You know that you're immortal, right? You're not mortal. You understand mortal and immortal? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you. You will always live. Mortal is what? Someone who dies. Immortal is someone who never dies. So these are a little bit two opposites, no? One time you're saying you're immortal, and then you're saying Alladhi khalaqa mawta wal hayat, that He's the one who has created death and life. And then you just said that, death is a very personal thing, that everybody is going to die. So how are these two going to be connected? How is it that we are immortal as well and we are mortal as well? What is immortal? What is immortal?
Never dies.
That doesn't die, right? So far, with all of the discussions that we've had, we told you that this body of yours is a carbon-based machine that requires fuel, and that is the fuel that you will put in once the speech is over and the prayers are done. You will put that fuel in, right? The pakoras and the biryani and all this other stuff, that's fuel. And who are you? You are the soul. Your essence is the soul, right? So in reality, what is immortal is the soul. What is mortal is your carbon-based machine. Now, depending on how you look at your own self, you will think of yourself as mortal or immortal. Right? If I look at myself as just this body, then what am I going to think of myself as? Mortal. But if I look at myself as a soul, as an essence, that's a metaphysical form that is not bound by time and space, that does not have a shape or form, that cannot be contained in any three-dimensional entity. If I'm looking at it that way, that is above time and space, then I will know that I'm immortal. True or not? Alam ahad ilaykum ya bani Adam an la ta'budu shaytan innahu lakum aduwwun mubin wa an i'buduni hadha siratul mustaqim. Did I not take a promise from you, O the progeny of Adam, that you are not going to worship shaitan, that he is your clear enemy, that you are going to worship me, that is the straight path? Do you remember that, giving the promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Alam ahad ilaykum ya bani Adam. Yes. Before into this world we gave promises in the world of promises. Alim Zar, Alim Misak, Alim Arwa. These promises were given beforehand. Alastu bi rabbikum, who is your Lord? Qalu bala, you are. Right? So before this world, another world, in that world I do not have maybe a carbon-based body, because that world was not carbon-based. Or maybe it was. Hazrat Adam and Eve is a story that every religion has. They lived in a garden. Carbon-based or no?
Yes.
Was it carbon-based? Right? Carbon-based, you know what I'm talking about. Carbon-based, like this. their perception was that was not carbon based until they disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They did tarki awla, which was disobedience in that sense. Until then, they did not realize that it was carbon based. After they did that, they realized it was carbon based, and they started to hide themselves. So in reality, my soul is above time and space. I might be, Hazrat Adam is created, Hazrat Adam is created, and then he sees all of these stars in the sky, as you see the stars in the sky. He says, who are these? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Asul Kafi has this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, these are your children. How old is Hazrat Adam? Right? This is the time period before he was put from that garden into this earth. 200,000 maybe, as far as like carbon dating goes. 14,000 years is the most the civilization that they have found with carbon dating. 14,000 years, but science might say 200,000 years. I mean, depending on whatever you're going to take. But 14,000 years old civilization. I can get you the article as well and the video of that excavation that they have done, and the buildings that they have discovered are built with technology that even today's technology might not be able to build it. The stones are infused. We have no technology right now that can infuse the two stones without cement or a medium in between. The two stones are infused with some sort of light source or heat source that would burn the two stones in such a way that they infuse with each other. Right. So humanity has existed on this planet for a very, very long time, and we're talking about even before that, and I existed in a form of light. Okay. So how old am I? If you're talking about this body of mine, then yes, it's 41 years old, and that is the quantity of motion of earth revolving around the sun. That's not my age. Now this is what depends on how you see yourself. If you see yourself just this mechanical carbon-based machine, then yes, of course, you are mortal, your age is 41, you're going to die, and maybe there is a life after it or not. You have all of these questions, right? But if you look at yourself as someone, as a soul, as the essence that is not bound by time and space and so forth, then you do not say, I am 41 years old. You do not say that I'm going to die. You just say, I will be transferred from one world to another world, from one dimension to another dimension, as I have been transferring from the very time that I was created. I have died before, and I have become alive before, and I will continue doing that until to the point where I will reach my home, where my travels will finish. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Him is our return. Once I get to that, I'm home. I'm in my country, I'm in my place, I am where I'm supposed to be, and then there is no more transfers from one world to the other world, being a traveler, not a traveler, all of this. Right? So the people who pass away, or to us they pass away, what is their passing away? Their passing away is the body of theirs that we could see before, we do not no longer see it because it's underground. So we say they passed away. Okay, if they passed away, where have they passed away to? Moved on. He's moved on. Right? He's passed away. Right? Rest in peace. We also say that. Where are you resting? How do you know you're in peace? Right? So So in reality, this death that we look at, it is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that creation is that particular, if you want to look at it as an absolute existence of it, it is that which you cannot see from your eyes, but in a way, maybe I'll explain that to you and then we'll finish that. Because the best way to actually know that is through examples. I might have given that to you before too. Anyways, yeah. In front of you is a carbon-based body, and there are strings that are attached to it. You guys have seen puppet shows or no? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you have that puppet that has, generally they have like a cross or something, and then it has the strings, right? And it gets attached to the puppet. The hand is hidden through the curtain, and the strings are generally like fishing line or something that the kids can't see, right? And the kids are looking at it, and the hand's moving, and the puppet moves. So the kids, they think what? That the puppet is alive, right? But the adults, they know that the puppet is not alive. The reason why it can move and, do all of this is because of the hand moving it. Right? So right now in front of you is a puppet that has strings attached to a soul, and that soul is the hand, and those strings you cannot see. And you as children would, looking at that, saying that this is alive. But it's not alive, it's just a carbon-based machine that is moving because of those strings attached to that hand, which is the soul, which is the essence. Okay? So what will happen when Hazrat Malakul Maut will come, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and keep him happy and safe, whatever he happens to be. He's one of my favorite angels, and because if I'm not going to meet any other angels, I will definitely meet Hazrat Malakul Maut, the death angel. I will definitely meet him. And he's a very blessed person, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him even more. And I do truly love him from the bottom of my heart, because he has taken up a task that none of the angels could perform. And I have high respect for him. None of the angels could take that task which he has taken, to take the life or to transfer a 6-month-old baby from the arms of a mother. And to take that away, a 6-month-old baby from the arms of a mother, is a difficult task, and he has taken that. Even more difficult was the task that he had to perform of a 6-month baby whose name was Asghar. This baby, who was 6 months old, was the son of Imam Hussein. In the battleground of Karbala, these little kids, the women and children, for them water was prohibited. Water was closed for them. The enemy had closed the water for them. You fasted all day today. You can feel the thirst. You fasted all day, you can feel the thirst. Can you imagine being in the desert and being 6 months, a little baby, and not having anything for 3 days, that the mother cannot feed the child because there's nothing to give? Can you imagine how thirsty a 6 months baby would be for 3 days? And this baby, the father holds in the hands, takes it, says to the enemy, whatever you think I have done, this baby has done nothing. when Hazrat Ali Asghar, they say that when Imam Hussain brought Hazrat Ali Asghar, and Imam Hussain looked at him and Hazrat Ali Asghar looked at him, and then he looked at the army. When he had looked at the army, say that he took out his tongue. Right? When he had taken out his tongue was very tiny and it had blisters on it. Right? It's naturally it's going to happen to a baby who's 6 months, who doesn't get anything for 3 days, and it is hot. I mean, you're going to get blisters. Your tongue is going to crack. Your lips are going to crack. This was a scene that the enemy standing in front of Imam Hussain, the 30,000 enemy that was standing in front of Imam Hussain, this scene they could not bear. It was such a scene that they started to cry. Can you imagine how difficult it was for the father holding the son to see him in that condition? That the stone-hearted enemies of Imam Hussain started to cry by looking at that scene. And it was told to the army that you should silence the tongue of Hussain. And Hazrat Ali Asghar was the tongue, had become the tongue of Imam Hussain. The enemy takes an arrow, and this arrow was made to slaughter animals. This arrow had 3, it was not just one side, it had 3 heads on it. It was made to slaughter animals. Because the target was very small. The target was a 6 months baby. And the father was holding it. And the mother was looking through the tent. Whereas Hurmala could not shoot, so he had to be made to put a cloth on his eyes. Right? So he shoots that arrow. Right? Can you imagine this arrow in the air and coming to the neck of that 6 months baby? Could you imagine that, one head of that arrow pierced through the arm of Imam Hussain, the other head of the arrow opened the neck of Hazrat Ali Asghar. Can you imagine that? A 6 months baby, thirsty for 3 days, blistered tongue, lips are cracked, and an arrow comes and cuts the neck of that baby and the blood starts coming out. And Imam Hussain, he said, that time Ali Asghar was in my hands like a fish is out of water. You know how the fish, when he gets out of water, the way it moves. The pain was so much that Hazrat Ali Asghar was feeling that his body was trembling like a fish comes out of water. That angel, the angel of death, with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, had to take that little life of Elias. We could not bear just listening to it. Can you imagine the state of that angel who had to take that life? Allah, the grace and mercy that you have with all that you have created, that is good. With the friends of yours, for the sake of your friends, for the sake of Imam Hussain, for the sake of the Prophet, for the sake of everything that you have created that is close to you, we ask you, we beseech you, we beg you, for the sake of the holy month of Ramadan, please forgive our sins. Please give us the opportunity to submit to you. As it is your right to be submitted, give us the peace and tranquility in our hearts. Of the remembrance of you, have us the opportunity to help each other and give us the opportunity to become the followers and the friends of the coming of our Imam. May he come as soon as possible. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal-Asr. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
اللهم صل على محمد.